Hey Nintendo fans, it's Jaywitz here with another Nintendo Fact video, and this is actually one that I've spent a couple of years on, collecting all the stuff that I needed to make it. Today we're going to be talking about the Nintendo e-reader, a somewhat forgotten piece of Nintendo technology, a strange little add-on that in some ways predicted some of the stuff that Nintendo's working on today. Let's check it out. The Nintendo e-reader debuted in Japan in late 2001 and North America in late 2002. It was an add-on for the Game Boy Advance line of Nintendo systems and attached to the cartridge slot of the Game Boy Advance. Its primary function is an LED scanner, meant to scan dot code strips printed on specific cards in order to store and transfer information. In many ways, the e-reader paved the way for modern-day Amiibo, giving us product that was both a Nintendo collectible and a way to unlock Nintendo content at the same time. But unlike Amiibo, the e-reader wasn't really successful overseas. It was fairly popular in Japan, but it only had a short life in North America and an almost non-existent presence in Europe. Today I want to talk about some of the cool ways that this product worked that you might have missed out on, as well as discussing some of the device's faults. For starters, you actually needed a good amount of tech to even get this thing running. You needed the e-reader, at least one Game Boy Advance, and you had to buy one of the many packs of separate e-reader compatible cards. Many cards also required that you owned a game associated with the cards, and separate systems and separate cables as well. Right off the bat, you can tell that this device was intended for the classic Game Boy Advance. It slides right in, and the plug at the bottom goes directly into the link cable slot, allowing you to use the port at the top of the e-reader as a link cable pass-through. It also links well for the GameCube Game Boy Player device, which has the link cable and cartridge slots right next to each other. It does work for the Game Boy Advance SP, but it certainly doesn't plug in well, and you'll need to use the link cable slot on the top of the system instead. The same can be said for the Game Boy Micro, but you'll have to use that weird Game Boy Micro link cable if you want to connect to other devices. It also doesn't fit into the classic DS without modification, and while I have heard that the DS Lite does work with this thing, neither system has any link cable support at all. For linking up to systems, you need cables. For an e-reader to GameCube communication, you need the GameCube to Game Boy cable. For communication with a Game Boy Advance game, you'll need two Game Boy Advance systems, which is pretty obnoxious, and a Game Boy Advance link cable. I think the idea was that someone with an e-reader could share their data to a friend that doesn't have an e-reader, and then you swap the data between both players like some sort of ancient street pass. But if none of your friends had a Game Boy Advance, you would need to have two of your own systems in order to use these features. Speaking of features, let's check out the cards. Some of them are more boring than others, but almost all of them are building blocks to Nintendo games and features that you see today. The original functionality of the system came in the form of classic NES games on cards. When you slide 5 different cards, some of them double-sided for almost 10 individual swipes, you can load and play a classic NES game. Your e-reader can save one application at a time, so you don't have to do all those swipes for every single game, but if you're switching between more than one e-game in a short sitting, it can be pretty time-consuming. There isn't a ton to say here, and these are in my opinion the least exciting way to use the e-reader. This is a strategy that we've seen Nintendo use for decades, finding new ways to sell their oldest games on newer platforms. Successors include the pricier classic NES series sold on the Game Boy Advance a few years later, the various Nintendo Virtual Console titles, and even the recently discontinued NES Classic. As far as a more robust way that the platform was used, let's jump on over to Mario. E-reader cards existed for the Super Mario Advance 4, Super Mario Bros. 3. Oh my god, those names are so confusing. Besides being a modern port of the classic Mario 3, this game had e-reader support to add content to your game. The more boring end of these cards were power-up and demo cards, which you could use to stack up your inventory with items, pay to win. But the best cards were level cards, which unlocked special courses, usually filled with weird tricks and traps that you wouldn't normally see in the old Mario games. In many ways, these courses feel like the inspiration for crazy Mario fan hacks, and many years later, the customizable Super Mario Maker. The US got about 10 of these secret levels, while Japan saw almost 40 in total. For some good news though, not too long ago the Wii U Virtual Console version of Super Mario Advance 4 dropped, and to my surprise, it has all 38 e-reader levels unlocked. These levels were really unique, and they're definitely worth checking out if you're hungry for some strange 2D Mario levels. The other major Game Boy Advance title to use these cards was Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire. Like Mario, there's a mix of card effects. There's rare berry cards that you can use to collect berries, or unique trainer challenge cards that allow you to battle custom NPC opponents. Unfortunately for me, I traded all of the good Pokemon away from this game cart when I made that old Gen 3 to Gen 6 transfer guide, so I actually got wrecked by these bad teams of level 50s. It's pretty sad. The holy grail of these cards, though, was the Eon Ticket. Distributed in a few different ways, from E3 to stores to Nintendo Power, this was the original way to get the Eon Pokemon, Latios or Latios, that wasn't in the game version that you played. I really like this card. It's literally an Eon Ticket that gets you a ticket. I also thought Nintendo really cleverly brought this event back in the Generation 6 remakes. Here, you need to street pass with someone with an Eon Ticket to get the ticket for yourself. The same way you might have needed to share an e-reader with a friend over 10 years ago if you wanted an Eon Ticket on your Game Boy Advance. Arguably the coolest way Pokemon and the e-reader were used, though, were the E-Series Pokemon cards, which used the e-reader independently. These began with the Expedition set and were primarily used in the Expedition, Aquapolis, and Skyridge Pokemon card sets. Unlike other E-cards, the E-Series Pokemon trading cards sometimes have two stripes on them, one small one on the bottom and a larger one on the left. When scanning the small codes, you get a card dex entry on the Pokemon that you scan, with light tips on the trading card game and information about the Pokemon on the card itself. Not all cards have this longer strip on the left, but the ones that do unlock a ton of different things. You never know what you're gonna get. Sometimes they unlock weird little animated movies, like this one with Pikachu. And Jinx. That was not okay. That isn't okay! Sometimes they unlock trading card game supplements. Here's a digital coin flipper. Oh my god, my luck is horrible. Or here's a timer for your matches. One neat thing that they tried was optional attacks that e-reader Pokemon could learn, which typically had something you can't do in the physical card game, randomly generating results. This is similar to the digital-only cards from the trading card game for Game Boy. Or if you're looking for something a little more recent, Hearthstone. These E-attacks were never tournament legal, but they're an interesting piece of Pokemon TCG lore that I've never seen before. By far the best thing these cards did, though, was unlock minigames. They're pretty simple, but they're a ton of fun. The only downside is that most of them require more than one specific Pokemon card to unlock. I was pumped to learn that there's a Hoppip game. Heck yeah! My ancient mascot strikes again! All you need for this game is Expedition Hoppip and Pichu. But guess what? It turns out that holographic cards have 0 dot codes on them. So even though I do own the holographic rare Expedition Pichu, it turns out that you need the non-holographic regular rare card if you want to play the e-reader game. That has got to be the only time I can think of where I would be disappointed to own a holographic version of a card. Also, fun fact, my rarest e-card is this one right here on the right. At a distance, it looks just like any Expedition Hoppip, but take a closer look and you'll notice that this one says Sample in the corner. It was part of an E3 sample pack demoing the e-reader's functionality. Another cool thing about this card, it has an English front, but still uses the Japanese card back. It's probably the rarest Pokemon card I own, period. Pichu or not though, I do own some card combinations, so here's a small sample of minigames. Here's one where you fall as a Corsola trying not to get hit. Bubbles give you more health, and bumping into an enemy blasts your bar down. You just need to survive to 100. It's not so bad. Pretty easy, actually. Okay, moderately difficult towards the end here, I'll admit it. Oh my god. Oh no, no, not like this! Why? I literally had 1 second left! Oh man! That escalated quickly. Well, I don't own all of the E-set cards. Renee's favorite set of all time is Skyridge, so we do own all of those. This Ditto game has you working with Kingler to bounce fish into the sea. A lot of these games actually remind me a ton of the classic Game & Watch ones. This one is actually pretty slow and easy to rack up a high score, but I let a few miss on purpose just for fun, and LOL, that is the saddest Ditto face of all time. I feel terrible. The craziest game is Construction Action, a sort of buildable game that works between Aquapolis and Skyridge cards. You select your trainer. There's like 5 pixels, but trust me, I'm the relic hunter here. And then you add up to 6 different cards to create a side-scrolling map that you have to complete by jumping and throwing Pokeballs. Looks like my first card was the Gengar one, and oh, I'm dead. Okay, this time no, I'm still dead. Okay, this time I'm gonna jump on him and Yes! Yes, I finally did it! Okay, now I'm gonna wait for them to come back, and oh my god. Okay, this time I'm gonna jump them, catch them, hit the Gengar twice. Man, I hate how slow the time is between throwing your projectile. Doesn't matter. Thank God these Electrode are so much easier. This is the run. This is the run! I'm pretty sure I just died to a Magikarp? Oh my god, yeah, I died to a Magikarp. There are so many Pokemon e-reader games that they could easily become their own video, but hopefully that's a nice little sample for you guys. North American Pokemon cards had e-reader functionality for a few more sets after this in the original EX era, but those sets only used the boring Pokedex dot code at the bottom and none of those crazy minigames. I kinda missed them. It was awesome learning that years later, all these Pokemon cards that I've been collecting were actually holding games on them. It isn't exactly the same, but these cards are kind of a predecessor to the Pokemon trading card game online code cards that you can find in packs today. It seems that Pokemon really likes linking their physical card game to a separate digital one. Next up is the only GameCube compatible e-reader set that we saw in the States, the Animal Crossing cards. It's been a while, so I bet there's a lot of, oh my god, the weeds! Like 15 years worth of weeds! It's like a jungle out here! Also, wow, sick custom Django Fett pattern, young J-Withs. I'm sure that character will remain popular for a very long time. These cards came in separate packs that allowed you to unlock presents from villagers or modify different creative aspects of your town, such as swiping a town tune card to get a new tune from KK, or instantly grabbing new patterns to use on your clothes. They even have text codes printed on them to give you goodies through the game's mail system, even if you don't own an e-reader. One uncanny thing about these cards, though, is that they are almost identical to the Animal Crossing amiibo cards that are out today. The villager designs have certainly evolved a little bit over time, but it's pretty wild that this exact same concept still lives on. And finally is my favorite Nintendo e-reader experiment of all time, Mario Party E. You know how we've been on that huge board game kick for this channel? Well, Mario Party E is an actual board game, and it's actually a ton of fun. I like it so much that I even sleeved the dang cards. Players compete to be the first to get a full suit of Mario gear, and then play this Superstar card to win. However, there's a ton of crazy cards, attacks, a coin economy, and mini-games that make the game competitive and interesting. Most of the cards have no dot code at all, but some of them do have dot code to load mini-games, battles, or random effect wheels just like a regular Mario Party game. I actually think the card game aspect itself is more interesting than the mini-games, but this is one of the most creative Nintendo things that I've ever played, blending physical and digital games in a way that surprisingly isn't terrible. If you're interested in seeing this game in action, I streamed it about a year ago and saved the VOD. You can find a link to that playthrough in the description. Unfortunately, the e-reader never really sold that well here in the States. I don't know the definitive reason, but growing up, most of my friends skipped on it because it was confusing. The e-reader is one device that sometimes is a standalone, sometimes it needs cable, sometimes it's unlocking content, sometimes you need two systems, sometimes it's hidden in your card games, and sometimes it even is a card game. It's just a hard sell for kids who barely understood it, and parents who understood it even less. There are a few types of e-cards that I don't own, and Japan even got a ton of exclusive e-cards that I've never seen in person, like F-Zero, Mega Man, and even Pikmin 2. Someday, I hope I'll extend my collection and hunt them all down. But for now, that's all I've got. I didn't own one growing up, but going back to explore this device today, I really like it. It isn't revolutionary, but the tech was solid and it took risks. It's easy to see how Amiibo, which are more collectible and require one press of a figure instead of several slow swipes of a card, are the natural successor. While it might not be looked back on as the most successful Nintendo experiment, it's been one of my favorites to research, and I'm glad I finally got to open this little door into Nintendo's past with you guys today. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time with more Nintendo content.